Hello there, welcome to Hippie Happy Homeschooler. My name is Gina and today I am hopping on here. It has been a very long time, but I'm hopping on here today to talk about high school. I have 3 high schoolers and 1 middle schooler, and I wanted to wait to make this video until I felt like I had a handle on high school. And I feel like I finally do, as I'm getting ready to graduate 2 seniors this year. My twins will be graduating in 2025. And then I have a upcoming 10th grader. And then I also have a 7th grader. So it has taken a couple years for us to get into our high school groove, but I do feel like I've learned some things these past 4 years, and just want to share some of the nuggets that I've learned along the way so that maybe you can take these and put them in your back pocket for when you homeschool your high schoolers. So I have a little notebook here that I took some notes on the things that I think are the most valuable things to pass along that I have learned. So number 1 is don't freak out. That was one of the things that I feel like I did in the beginning, excuse me, is I kind of just let anxiety take over a little bit in the very first year of high school, because it was like, oh my gosh, everything counts. What if I'm doing something wrong? By the way, these are all very normal feelings to have as a homeschooler. I feel like we're always kind of second guessing ourselves. But, and one of the things that I did was I kind of made a change in our curriculum and did something different in one of the areas of our curriculum. I won't name the curriculum because there's people that use this curriculum that love it, and so it just wasn't a fit for us. But I happened to decide to use this particular curriculum, even though there was another curriculum that we had been using that was perfectly, working. And but I don't know, I guess I felt like it was going to be more rigorous or something, and it ended up kind of creating like a problem in our homeschool for a couple of weeks because no one liked it. I hated it. I hated the whole grading process, and the amount of time it was taking for one class was like an hour and a half a day. It was ridiculous. It was just way too much, and we tend to be more like Charlotte Mason eclectic, I would like to call us. And so it just didn't suit our personalities. And we ended up going back to what we were originally doing. So that's a bonus one. So the first one is don't freak out. The second one was just, if you have a curriculum that's working, don't change it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Sorry, Alexa decided to say hi. The next one is plan with the end goal in mind. If you desire, and your children desire, to go to school, to go to college, and you know the trajectory that they might be wanting to go in, then you want to sort of start planning with that goal in mind. So making sure you're getting the right maths, the right sciences, the right electives that might be taking your kids in the direction of whatever it is that they're doing. So for instance, my daughter is an artist, and she wants to be a middle school or high school art teacher. And so I knew very early on that art was going to be a very primary part of her curriculum that she would be learning, and that I would need to incorporate some kind of a curriculum that pushes her in that area. And so we found a delightful art company online, which is one of the most fantastic art elective homeschool programs I have ever found. They do art history, they do great books, they do art design, they do watercolor, they do all kinds of graphic design. I mean, you name it. Courtney does an amazing job. I'm going to be doing a video soon with my review of their company because it's so well done. So that's just kind of an idea for planning with the end goal in mind. If your child wants to go into the medical field, you need to take that into consideration with maths and sciences and electives and things like that. My son wants to be a firefighter, so you know, that changed how we formulated his high school experience, you know, and how many classes he needed to take in certain areas. And so that's that. The next one is keep them close. I think this is probably one of the most important things, because I know that sometimes it can be really tempting, especially if you have more than one child. I have 4. It could be tempting to just, you know, oh, you're older now, you can go to your room and do all your homework and not see them for the day. But I feel like that completely defeats the purpose of why we homeschool. Homeschooling is about relationships. It's about relationship with God. It's about the relationship with the family. It's about the relationship with the world around them, with their siblings, with, you know, the information that they're taking in. It's all about relationships. And so if we just relegate them to their room, I feel like it just is a complete disservice to them, and it takes away time that you could be with them, honestly. And so I think balancing how much time you give them independently and how much time you pull them in, for our family, the way that we do it, and this is the next one, I said to continue morning time if that is something that your family does. If you are a family that enjoys the beauty of morning time, read alouds, art studies, music study, poetry, great books, apologetics, Bible study, singing a hymn, or, you know, nature walks, or learning Latin together as a family, or learning history together as a family. Don't stop that just because they're in high school. Now, you might have to cut them loose a little bit sooner than your younger ones if they have other obligations like online classes, or certain deadlines that they need to meet with online classes and whatnot, or if they have extracurricular activities, or if they have, you know, a job or whatever. But for us, it really, we just tailored our entire day to make sure that we were able to be together as a family. And that is one of the most foundational and important parts of our day. It sets the tone for our entire day. We sit together as a family, we watch World Watch News, we eat breakfast together, we read the Word, we read several different great books, literature, poetry, we study art together, we do Latin, you know, we go through different history streams together. And that's not to say that they can't do history, you know, in their individual time too, but maybe pick something that you could be doing together. You know, maybe do your ancients together and they could do their American history by themselves. That's just an idea, but that's just something that's really valuable to me, because I feel like I have them home and I have them here, and this is a gift that we get to be together, and we get to learn together, and we get to grow together, and we get to have these great, big, juicy conversations, as Julie Bogart says, having these big, juicy conversations. That's where a lot of these important foundational truths happen in morning time, is when we discuss things and we talk about hard things that have happened in history, and when we read missionary stories from the YWAM series, and we gain perspective of what suffering looks like. You know, we might be going through something in our own personal life, and then you read a story about Gladys Aylward and the things that she went through, and perspective, and how we should be living as Christians, and sacrifice and things like that. So that's that. So keep them close, continue morning time. The next thing that I put is plan something with them in your schedule. It could be once a week. It could be twice a week. So typically the way that it works in our house is we meet for morning time every morning. I have two younger kids, my 15-year-old and my 12-year-old, who sometimes need help from me with their math. And then they might need a check-in sometimes with language arts. But I always have some kind of a book study going with each child. So I would say pick an epic poem that you want to work on, or a Shakespeare play that you want to work on, or a great book that you want to go through with them. My twins, the ones that are going to be graduating this year, the thing that I've chosen for us to go through together this year is the Aeneid and the Dante Commedia, so the Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. We're going to go through those together. And we're going to meet once a week to discuss. So we'll read a chapter together once a week, then they'll be responsible to read however many I assign for the rest of the few days until we meet again, and then we'll discuss what we read, and then we'll read another chapter together. So it keeps us close. We'll also do Paradise Lost together, and what is it called? I'm going to share it in my high school video, but there's another book that we're going to be doing together. But I feel like discussing great books and even capping off a great book with a movie as a celebration is a great way to bond with your teens. Another thing that we have incorporated in our time together with I do it with all of my kids, but we do Shakes and Shakespeare. So I'd say every 2 months or so, we start a new Shakespeare play, every 2 to 3 months. So we try to do about 4 a year. I don't know what that works out to be, but we'll work on a Shakespeare play, and about every other week, we will just decide to take our Shakespeare books that we're reading, because we read the play and everybody reads a part, and we'll go grab shakes from Chick-fil-A, and we'll sit in the park and we'll read Shakespeare and have shakes. And if you incorporate food into something with teenagers, they will be very cooperative, I have found. So that's that. The next thing is check your state requirements for graduation. What is required in your state? How many English, how many math, how many science, how many history? Do they need economics? Like, what do they need to be considered a graduate in your state? Every state is different. Some states only require attendance, like that you showed up. Like the state of Florida is very, they do evaluations. They don't require testing. That's where I live in Florida. So there's no testing required. It's evaluation of progress. And then obviously an attendance log to prove that you've been doing school, and you have to show samples of your work. And so, that's our requirements, but we still follow what the state says is a graduate, requirement. So my kids have 4 math, I think it's 3 science, 4 years of English, and I can't remember how many of social studies or history, and then of course you have electives and things like that. But so that's that. The next one is look into expectations for the colleges you plan to consider. Do they require testing? If they do, make sure that that's on your radar as your kids get to maybe I think it's their junior year. If they need to take a specific test, you want to make sure that they're prepared. I know Mr. D does a whole course on a couple of the different tests that college is required, and they help you study for it. And so that's a really good option. Mr. D is not very expensive. I think it's like $170, but you get a break on price if you have a sibling. So that's just something to consider for those who want to be prepared. The next thing that I have is dual enrollment. Depending on, the college, it depends on what age they'll let a child come and do dual enrollment. The one that is near our family is allowing kids to start taking classes, I believe in 10th grade. They can take one course in the fall, and then I believe they can take 2 courses in the spring, and then each year after that I believe it builds. My daughter will be taking, she's a senior, so she will be taking 5 courses in the fall, because it's broken up into 2 sections. It's a session A and session B. So in session A, she's taking 3 classes. In session B, she's taking 2, and then spring will be pretty much the same. But look into the requirements for dual enrollment. Some colleges only require just a transcript. That's the one that we went to. They did not require her to get tested. They just required her transcript showing that she had the right level of math to do college algebra, and her GPA had to be a certain amount, and that was it. So it was really simple, and she's going to get all of these credits out of the way in her high school year, senior year, and be that much farther ahead for her art degree when she goes into college after she graduates. So to me, it's a win-win, because usually it's cheaper. There's a huge break in price. So I'm all about saving if you can. The next thing that I have is do a career packet of sorts. I do have a video about 7 Sisters Career Exploration Unit. It was wonderful. My kids loved it. It's from a biblical perspective, that God entrusts us with certain giftings and abilities, and we use those to give back, and we steward our gifting properly after high school. Whatever career we go into, God will use our gifts to bless others, and it goes through a whole list of different personality types, and just kind of like a soul searching curriculum that kind of helps them think. Critical thinking is really important in figuring out who you are and what you want to do, and so it kind of gets that process started for them. But I highly recommend checking out my video on the career exploration unit if you're curious. It was inexpensive, it was easy to navigate. My kids loved it. They loved the questions and the writing and all of the exploration that it offered for them, and it helped them figure it out. So next, this is so important, and just so you know, none of these are in order of importance. This is just as I wrote them. The next thing is give them something that they might not be able to give themselves. I feel like when our kids are in our care, there's certain things that we can give them that they might not be able to give to themselves. And every family is going to be different, because every family's values are different, and every family's priorities are different. The things that they want their children to experience are going to be different. So for our family, the arts, culture, music, beauty, all very, very important to us. So it was very important to me to give my daughter the best homeschool art program I could give her. It was expensive through a delightful education. Not ridiculously expensive, but it's, when you're raising a family, everything is expensive. But to me, it was so valuable, because they could give her something that I could not give her in the arts and in her craft, and it catapulted her gifting to a whole different level and gave her an even bigger passion for art than she already had. It was just explosive. And so it was beautiful to invest in that for her, and to go, okay, this program is $700, but it's going to place her in such a good position to know who she is, what God created her to do, and to give her a great love for that thing that God gave her to do. The next thing that we gave our kids is music lessons. We're very musical family, and so it was really important to us that they were able to explore their musical giftings. And we didn't do this until we started to notice the things that they were passionate about. Some families choose to give them lessons from a very young age. We're kind of hippie, I guess, a little different in how we approached it, because we just left musical instruments all over the house and figured at some point they would pick something up, and that would be the thing that they were interested in. And so we have a piano, and we have drums, and we have guitars all over the place, and electric guitars, and we have bongos and a drum set, and there's just instruments everywhere, ukuleles, and so we just knew that at some point, they would find an instrument that interested them, and they did. Almost all of them play piano, and 2 of them play guitar, and 3 of them play drums, and it was just very natural and organic. And so once we saw that that was something that they were very interested in and that they were passionate about and they were willing to work at, we put them in lessons. And then the other thing we gave them was we went to Europe and we did like a world schooling kind of thing. And I've put a few videos up of our experiences in Europe. I'm not completely finished with it because I'm not great at being super consistent because I'm super busy. But I do put up videos as often as I can. But we did do a big Europe trip last year for a month, and it was amazing. And we were able to take them to museums and ancient ruins and wonderful, beautiful places in Italy and in France and London. And of course, like, these are not things that just anyone can, do without saving and preparing for a long time. And that was something that we had really worked towards. But it doesn't have to be a Europe trip. It could be somewhere in America, and just really desiring to get the most out of a particular location. I have a friend that went on an amazing excursion to see Laura Ingalls house and all of the areas where she was from, and incorporated all of these different beautiful history books, and just gave her kids a really living learning experience, and that will live with them for life. So I would just say, pray about that. Like, what is it that you can give your kids now that they might not be able to give themselves, that they can take with them for the rest of their life, and that might shape something for their future? The next thing I have is good books. Give them good books. Give them the most important book, which is God's Word. That's the priority. But then give them good books, great literature, great conversations. Give them things that can help them steward their relationships. Books like Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend, or 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, The 5 Love Languages. Give them books like that, not just the literature books and the history books and novels and whatnot, but books that can help them process life. So that's a huge, important thing that we value in our house. Stories of people that have endured, missionaries, things like that, just perseverance, stories of character. Those things stick with them. The next thing I have is don't underestimate tea time. Again, and that's just an opportunity to make something special. It doesn't have to just be with your younger kids. Tea time is a tea time and poetry, or poetry and tea time, or however they say it. It's kind of a coined phrase in the homeschool realm, but homeschool families love to do this with their younger children, but don't stop doing this with your older kids. They love it. They love it. They love food. And what better excuse to sit down and have conversation, with food and a good book and poetry, and, so the next thing is, don't put too much pressure on them. Obviously we have to set goals, but they have their whole life to be responsible and have jobs and, have jobs and pay bills and show up places on time. And, you know, like I said, we have to be responsible, and we want to teach them responsibility. But I do feel like it's important to give them that ability to just be kids. They're still kids. And even though they want that independence and they are reaching adulthood, there is that tug on them that still wants to be children too. I remember that from being a teenager, you know, is yes, you very much want to, you know, fly and, you know, be set free and be independent, but at the same time, childhood is short and it's precious. And so not rushing that and letting them just be kids still, I feel like is so important. And then the last and most important thing is trust the Holy Spirit. If you are a Christian and the Holy Spirit lives in you, He will teach you. He is rabbi. He is teacher. He will teach you how to do everything. Everything I was worried about worked out because I submitted to the Holy Spirit, and I asked the helper for help. I asked the comforter for comfort. I asked the teacher to teach. And we're rounding out our final year for my 2 seniors, and I am so proud of who they have become and who they're becoming. I'm grateful for the time that we've had together to learn and grow together as a family. It has been some of the most enriching years of our lives, and it has set the foundation for the rest of their life. So that is my list. That is my suggestions for stewarding your time with your high schoolers. It is a season that goes very quickly. I feel like the elementary years are just slow and lovely and just rich with time. And once high school hits, it's just like whoosh, off to the races, because they're in sports and they might have jobs and they have friends and they have a life. So we want to maximize our time with them so that we can pour into them whatever it is that the Lord puts on our heart to pour into them. So I hope that you have found this helpful, and I hope it blesses you, and I hope it helps you on your journey. Happy homeschooling. Have a great day.